The human body appears to admit of being much more powerfully affected in its health by medicines, partly because we have the regulation of the dose in our own power than by natural morbid stimuli, for natural diseases are cured and overcome by suitable medicine. The inimical forces, partly psychical, partly physical, to which our terrestrial existence is exposed, which are termed morbific noxious agents, do not possess the power of morbidly deranging the health of man unconditionally. But we are made ill by them only when our organism is sufficiently disposed and susceptible to the attack of the morbific cause that may be present and to be altered in its health, deranged and made to undergo abnormal sensations and functions. Hence they do not produce disease in everyone, nor at all times. But it is quite otherwise with the artificial morbific agents which we term medicine. Every real medicine, namely, acts at all times, under all circumstances, on every living human being and produces in him its peculiar symptoms, distinctly perceptible if the dose be large enough, so that evidently every human organism is liable to be affected and as it were inoculated with the medical disease at all times and absolutely unconditionally, which, as before said, is by no means the case with the natural disease. Incidentally, these paragraphs have a bearing upon degree or intensity, which is potentization, upon the repetition of the dose and upon susceptibility, things which must be known by the homeopathic physician in order that he may be a good prescriber. We have studied potentization sufficiently to see that the disease causes exist among attenuated things, the infinitesimal or immaterial substances, and thus the physician must see that the curative remedy must be on the same plane. He must know why it is that he should give but one dose, and the rationale by which susceptibility is satisfied. In contagion and consequently in cure, there is practically but one dose administered, or at least that which is sufficient to cause a suspension of influx. When cause ceases to flow in a particular direction, it is because resistance is offered for causes to flow only in the direction of least resistance, and so when resistance appears, influx ceases, the cause no longer flows in. Now in the beginning of disease, that is in the stage of contagion, there is this limit to influx. For if man continued to receive the cause of disease, if there were no limits to its influx, he would receive enough to kill him, for it would run a continuous course until death. But when susceptibility is satisfied, there is a cessation of cause, and when cause ceases to flow into ultimate, not only do the ultimate cease, but cause itself has already ceased. Animal states that we have more power over human beings with drugs than disease cause, for man is only susceptible to natural diseases upon a certain plane. Disease causes existing as they do as immaterial substances, flow into man in spite of him. He can neither control nor resist them, and they make him sick. But certain changes occur and man ceases to be susceptible, and there is no longer an inflowing of cause into his economy. A suspension has taken place because susceptibility has ceased. Susceptibility ceases when changes occur in the economy that bar out any more influx. But cure and contagion are very similar, and the principles applying to one apply to the other. There is this difference. In cure, we have the advantages of change of potency, and this enables us to suit the varying susceptibilities of sick man. Natural దాంట్లో అది తేడా. Natural దాంట్లో మనం ఆ పొటెన్సీని కానీ ఆ ఫోర్స్ని కానీ తగ్గించడం హెచ్చించడం అది చేయడం. కానీ మన మెడిసినల్ ఏజెంట్స్ లో పొటెన్సీ పెంచడం కానీ తగ్గించడం కానీ దాన్ని బట్టి మనం అది రెగ్యులేట్ చేసుకోవాలి. There is this difference. In cure, we have the advantages of change of potency, but this enables us to suit the varying susceptibilities of sick man. Because of these varying degrees of susceptibility, some are protected from disease cause and some are made sick. The one who is made sick is susceptible to the disease cause in accordance with the plane he is in and the degree of attenuation that happens to be present at the time of contagion. The degree of disease cause fits his susceptibility at the moment he is made sick, but it is not so with medicine. Man has all the degrees of potentization, and by these he can make changes and thereby fit the medicine to the varying susceptibility of man in varying qualities of disease. అంటే న్యాచురల్ డిసీజ్ లో నువ్వు దాని తాలూకు ఇంటెన్సిటీని దక్కించడం తగ్గించడం చేయలేము మనం. కానీ మనం డ్రగ్ డిసీజెస్ ఆర్టిఫిషియల్ డిసీజెస్ లో మనకు కావాల్సినటువంటి పొటెన్షియల్ పెంచచ్చు తగ్గించచ్చు ఆ ఫోర్స్ చేసి అవన్నీ మన చేతిలో ఉన్నాయి. Hence, animal rights, medicines, partly as it depends on us to vary doses according to our will, appear to have greater power in affecting the state of health than the natural morbidic irritation, for natural diseases are cured and subdued by appropriate medicine. Now, here we might ask the question, when does a medicine that has been administered cease to be homeopathic? The same principle as to susceptibility must apply because of the similarity between cure and contagion. Let me illustrate it in this way. Suppose we have a case of diphtheria and after due study, lecasis appears to be the most similar of all medicines and a dose is given. Now when does the lecasis cease to be homeopathic? When the symptoms that indicated it change, then it is no longer indicated. If it is given at all after this change, it operates upon a different plane from what it did in its homeopathicity, and if it acts at all, it does not act curatively but depressingly. చనిపోయిన తర్వాత వాడికి అది మళ్ళీ దాని పిక్చర్ లేనప్పుడు మళ్ళీ అది ఇస్తే అంతకుముందు క్యూరేటివ్ గా పనిచేస్తుంది అది డిప్రెషన్ గా పనిచేస్తుంది. Any more than just enough to supply the susceptibility is a surplus and is dangerous. In a chronic disease, administered sulfur when it is clearly indicated and the symptoms disappear and the patient feels better, then the remedy ceases to be homeopathic. అంతేగా మరి వాడి అయిపోయిన తర్వాత ఆ పిక్చర్ పూర్తిగా మారిపోయిన తర్వాత ఆ సల్ఫర్ వాడికి హోమియోపతిక్ రెమెడీ కాదు. And if it is administered longer, whatever action it has, it is neither homeopathic nor desirable. ఎంత క్లియర్ గా చెప్పారు. But man argues, if a little will do good, more will do more good. చిన్న ఒక రోజు వేసుకొని ఇంకా పనిచేస్తుందంటే ఎక్కువ వేస్తే ఇంకా బాగా పనిచేస్తుంది అంటారు. అది హ్యూమన్ లాజిక్. Enough to effect a change is all that can be homeopathic. When certain changes are effected, then the physician must leave. Enough medicine must be given to establish order, and that is done almost instantaneously. At most it is but a matter of a few hours, and as long as order continues after it has once begun, so long hands off. That is just the way contagion takes place. In diphtheria, the diseases begins, susceptibility ceases, a change takes place that protects the man from any further disease cause flowing into the body, and the disease develops and manifests itself by its symptoms. The repetition of dose is advised by many wise heads, but if we understand this doctrine, it will be clear to us that such repetition of dose is perfectly useless. Perfectly useless. అక్కడ మందు యాక్షన్ స్టార్ట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత, అది బాగా ఇంప్రూవ్మెంట్ స్టార్ట్ అయిన తర్వాత ఇంకా ఊరుకోవడం ఇంకేం చేయక్కర్లేదు. అలా ఇంకో డోస్ వేస్తాం, ఇంకో 2 డోసులు వేస్తాం, అవి చేయకూడదు అంటున్నాడు. మాత్రం తీసి అక్కడ పెట్టి చేతులు కట్టుకోవడానికి. It is true that in vigorous, robust subjects who have lightning-like reaction, the dose may be repeated and changes occur for the better if the remedy is not quite homeopathic to that case. But some are injured in this way because they are delicate subjects whose reaction is slow. The reaction is actually prevented by the repetition of the dose. That is, the order we have tried to establish is actually prevented. Hahnemann teaches that the human economy is more under control of man than under the control of the disease. For the economy can be affected only by such disease as it is susceptible to, but man, whether for the purpose of proving or for the purpose of curing, can so vary the dose that he can always get results, and the very susceptible ones are terribly damaged by the repetition of the dose. In the 31st paragraph, Hahnemann says that disease causes are limited in their ability to effect changes in health to certain conditions and states, that is, to susceptibility. This is all Hahnemann says of this doctrine of cessation of cause after certain evolutions have taken place. We see that when a natural disease is taken, it runs its period and tends to decline, and the patient will not be susceptible until another change of state has arrived. It is not true that man will go out of one state of susceptibility to a disease and in a few days go into another state of susceptibility to that same disease. There must be a change, a cycle, which means a certain length of time. Now, if we talk about cure instead of contagion, it would seem that a certain dose of medicine administered had lasted a certain time. This is commonly the appearance. The medicine appears to act all the time, and you should be clear in your mind that it is only an appearance. It really means that a certain length of time elapses before another dose is necessary, until another state of susceptibility has arrived. So again we say, whenever a medicine ceases to be homeopathic, it is of no use to administer that medicine any longer, as it will act upon the patient only upon an artificial susceptibility. కాబట్టి వాళ్ళకి పిక్చర్ మారిపోయిన తర్వాత ఇంకేంటి ఇంకేమైనా చూసుకుని అది హోమియోపతిక్గా ఉన్నది అదిగా ఉన్నారు, మళ్ళీ దీంతో తగ్గే కదా ఇదే రిపీట్ చేసుకున్నట్టయితే అవసరం. By this we mean that certain sensitive patients always have a susceptibility to hypotension. We have thus two things to deal with, the acute state created by the disease itself and the chronic state, which is the natural state of the patient born under miasm. Now, when in the acute state the patient has satisfied the susceptibility to contagion, there is a period in which the disease cause can no longer operate upon him. He is immune against any further influx of the disease cause. But when a remedy ceases to be homeopathic, the patient has not this immunity against more of its power because of the possibility of variance in the hands of the physician, the potency being given to the patient outside of his own degree of susceptibility, he may be damaged. In accordance with this fact, it is undeniably shown by all experience that the living human organism is much more disposed and has a greater liability to be acted on and to have its health deranged by medicinal powers than by the morbific noxious agents and infectious miasms, or in other words, that the morbific noxious agents possess the power of morbidity deranging man's health that is subordinate and conditional, often very conditional, whilst medicinal agents have an absolute unconditional power, greatly superior to the former. When we look over the improper use of all sorts of medicines, we can but conclude that the human race, because of drug taking, have been greatly disordered in the economy. You have heard Hahnemann speak of the management of chronic diseases. He distinctly states that the greatest difficulties are those that have been brought about in the economy by continuous drug taking. It is not that the drugs themselves are laid up in the economy, but that lifelong disorder is created. Think of the poor old individuals who were in the habit of taking sulfur and molasses. Think of those who have perpetually tapping their livers with blue moss. Think of the western sufferers who have filled themselves every year with quinine pancake to keep off the chill. These people are so disordered that it takes years of careful prescribing to turn them into a state of order. In 34th aphorism, Hahnemann repeats two propositions to which we have already alluded. The first proposition is that in order to cure, the medicines must be able to produce in the human body an artificial disease similar to that which is to be cured. That has been fully illustrated and explained. The second proposition is that the artificial disease must be of a greater degree of intensity. The matter of intensity has already been explained as something higher, more internal, something superior or prior. Intensity of power is proportionate to the degree of approximation towards primitive substance. There is no thought of intensity in any other direction. The cause of disease and cure exists within the primitive substance and not in ultimate material form, although the immaterial cause of disease continues in disease ultimate. The bacteriologists have crawled into confusion because they do not know in their science that causes continue into effects. The bacteria may contain cause because causes are continued into ultimates, but the primitive cause is not in the bacteria themselves have a cause. అది లేకపోతే వండదు. బ్యాక్టీరియా వెళ్ళి ఎందుకు ఎఫెక్ట్ చేయాలి? అందరిలోనూ ఉంటాయి బ్యాక్టీరియా. నార్మల్గా బ్యాక్టీరియా అందరిలోనూ ఉంటాయి. ఇంటర్ఫరెన్స్ లో ఈకోలే అన్నీ ఉంటాయి. ఆ పర్టికులర్ పర్సన్ ఎందుకు అది డిసీజ్ లేవా ఈకోలే రెగ్యులర్ గా అందరిలో ఉన్నదే అదే అని చెప్పారు. మరి లేకపోతే పళ్ళు తవ్వుకుంటారు. ఆయన నగిలి సంవత్సరాలు తగ్గదు. అలా తవ్వుకున్న వాళ్ళకి వాళ్ళకి పళ్ళు ఎన్ని సంవత్సరాలుగా పల్లెటూరులో పళ్ళు ఊడవు. ఆ రకాలు 84 అయ్యాక 2 పళ్ళు ఊడాయి. జలాశయం ఊరికి పన్నప్పుడు అలా నడిగేవారు. ఆ వేపలు ఇంకా 2 రోజులు లేదు. చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి వేపలే. తెల్లవారుజాము 3-3:30కి మెడుపు రాగానే వేపల నోట్లో పెట్టుకుని నవ్వుతూ ఉండేవారు. ఈలోపు అసలు వచ్చేసి ఆ తర్వాత దాంతో సంకీర్ణత కూడా అదే, ఇంకేం సంకీర్ణం ఉంటుంది, దాన్ని పడవ మధ్య తీస్తే సంకీర్ణత అవుతుంది. ఆయన ఎంత ఏజ్ 92 ఏళ్ళు అంటారు. రామాచార్య గారు వాళ్ళ పాట ఇబ్బంది తిరుగుతూ ఉంటారు. ఆయన పనులు ఆయన చేస్తారు. తిరుపతిలో వాళ్ళందరికీ ఆయన అన్ని ఎక్స్ట్రాలజీ వాస్తు ఏం చెప్తూ ఉంటారు.
ఇంకా తావడానికి అంటే మనం బ్రష్ అంటే కేవలం పళ్ళు నాటు ఆయుర్వేదంలో ఆయన చెప్పారంటే వేప ఉత్తరాయణి ఇవి వాడితే కరెక్ట్ వచ్చింది. పళ్ళు నాలుగుతో పాటుగా థ్రోట్ కంప్లైంట్, థైరాయిడ్ కూడా ఇంట్లో అది ఇది కూడా కావాలంటే
పళ్ళు తోముకోవడానికి ఏ పుల్లలు నీకు పనికొస్తాయి, ఏవి పనికిరావు కూడా క్లియర్ గా చెప్తారు. ఏదోటి వెతుకుని తోముకోవద్దు అంటాడు. చాలా డేంజర్. తప్పనిసరిగా షూట్గా అసలు నాన్న హారము అసలు ఏ హారం లేకుండా ఉన్నాయి పనికొచ్చేటట్టు ఉత్తరైన ఒకటి, వేప ఒకటి, మూడోది కానుక. చూసుకోకుండా ఏది పట్టి వెళ్తే అది కొంతమంది ఏం చేస్తే దానిమ్మ కూడా చేసుకుంటే మీకు పళ్ళు లేకపోతే ఇప్పుడు ఊడిపోతాయి. సీతాఫలం దానిమ్మ సీతాఫలం ఇంతకుముందు మన వాళ్ళు ఉప్పుతోడు బొగ్గుతోడు పళ్ళుగా ఉంటే దాన్ని నిర్దేశించినందుకు తీసేవారు. ఉప్పు కప్పలు తోముకోవడానికి లేదండి, బొగ్గు కప్పలు తోముకోవడం ఉంటుంది. అది పళ్ళు బాగానే ఉన్నాయి. కాకపోతే బొగ్గుతో సముద్ర ప్రభుత్వం క్లీన్ చేసుకోవడం అలాగే కనిపిస్తుంది. అది జాగ్రత్తగా క్లీన్ చేసుకుని మామూలుగానే అది మెత్తగా నూరుకుని చేసుకుని పింగాణి కూడా పోదు. ఇప్పుడు వార్తల పింగాణి పోతుంది. ఏదో కొత్తది పెట్టాలి కదా. కాలుగేట వాళ్ళు ఏంటంటే ఎక్స్ట్రా కాలుగేట ఎక్స్ట్రా సాల్ట్, యాక్టివ్ సాల్ట్